Welcome to Empowering You, a strengths-based podcast for leaders of leaders, with your host, Dr. Shauna T. Sobers. Hello, leaders. Welcome back to Empowering You. I'm your host, Dr. Shauna T. Sobers. Today, I want to talk to you about CliftonStrengths, and in particular, the 5 guiding principles as you begin to develop those talents of yours. So, the 5 principles that will help inform how you're developing with intention and with purpose as you gain that self-awareness and other awareness. So 5, themes are neutral, themes are not labels, lead with positive intent, differences are advantages, and then people need one another. So hopefully by now you've taken the CliftonStrengths assessment. If not, no worries. The overarching question of the positive psychology philosophy is, what would happen if we spent most of our time focusing on what's right with us rather than trying to fix what's wrong? And these guiding principles help us understand where that came from and how we can use that as we journey in our discovery and our development. So first one, themes are neutral. Now, CliftonStrengths has 34 talent themes, so clusters of talents that have been discerned through hundreds of interviews of Fortune 500 companies before it was even an assessment. And so these talent themes are neither good or bad. It's not inherently one or the other. Rather, it's more about how they're used and whether it's productive or not. So keep that in mind as people tend to judge and have strengths envy or those sort of things as they're thinking about or learning about different talents, thinking that one is better than the other or something like that. And that's not the case. Rather, if you're wanting to develop in these talents, it's best to learn and truly understand what the talents descriptions are. A lot of the talents have names and overarching umbrella that we might think because we use it day to day. But I challenge you to go unpack that a little bit more, read into the description, because that's going to help you understand a little bit more about what the Gallup means when they say discipline or communication or command. Okay, second one, themes are not labels. I really enjoy this one. And this is one of the things that bring me back to CliftonStrengths over and over again, even though I am certified in other assessments and have used other assessments, because I recognize them all as a tool. They each have something that they're sharing with us that they can give us. And they all have limitations as well. But what I like about this assessment is that it's not putting groups of people into a box. It's not trying to limit who you are or how you express. If anything, it's the 1 in 33 million chance to find another person with the same top 5 as you in the same order. And so it allows this room for us to acknowledge the influences of our background, of our other talents, and we're able to express and just express how we're using that particular talent. Even though someone might share a talent with us, it might look, feel, sound, come across very differently. And so it provides that common language that we can talk about it, yet it recognizes that we're all different. So I really enjoy that. But I do want to read the Gallup description of this one because I think it's really impactful. So here's this one. Human beings are much too complex to be defined or described by one word, be it gender, age, race, or a talent theme. The purpose of CliftonStrengths is not to provide another method of labeling people, but rather to help people understand and appreciate the tremendous complexity and diversity of humanity. So good. Number 3, Lead with positive intent. So the hope is that the more you become aware of your own talents, the more you also become aware of the talents that you don't have and therefore can appreciate in others. So becoming aware of those talents gives you that insight of how people tend to think or act or feel. Because remember, those results that you have are talent themes, and we're defining that as a natural. It's been in you all along, reoccurring. It keeps happening no matter what you do, a natural reoccurring pattern. So you can observe it. You can, recognize it continuously happening. So natural reoccurring pattern of three things: of thought. So how you think about things, the perspective, the lens you might use, how you're processing things, etc. Thought, feeling, that intuition, that gut feeling, that reaction to things. Um, Something happens, a situation happens, and oh, this is a pet peeve. Oh, this is a frustration. Oh, these things reoccur. Thought, feeling, or behavior. What actions are you taking? What reactions are you having? What are you doing? What's your behavior? So remembering that a talent is a natural recurring pattern of thought, feeling, and behavior that can be productively applied. And so if we remember that, then hopefully when other people do things that might frustrate us sometimes, we can pause, reserve that judgment, and recognize that positive intention that people might be putting forward. And we can then hopefully seek understanding, stay curious, and see people from that lens of what's right or what's good or what are they contributing that maybe I couldn't or wouldn't because I don't have those talents. So I might not have approached it that same way, but maybe just in there's some good to come of the way that that person's approaching it. So now I'm going to read this one. Becoming aware of other talents gives you insight into how they tend to think, act, and feel. The best opportunity to work and partner with others is connected to understanding, appreciating, and using this information in a meaningful way. All right, number 4, differences are advantages. Humanity's differences are not problems that we need to solve. Our differences are resources that create an advantage when we develop and use them wisely. So, what often happens when I am talking to a coaching client is, of course, the first thing they begin to notice and worry about is what's wrong, what differences they might have, what makes them an outlier. And they're like, oh no, I have to either repress that so that I can assimilate, and then therefore no attention is brought to me or the way that I do things differently. Or I forget what I was going to say, but no worries, because we recognize that those differences are advantages and things to embrace and bring to the table as a contribution rather than to hide from, to repress. That's another one of those kryptonite things that might happen, is the very thing sometimes that we are bullied about or shamed about, or that people point out because it's different, are sometimes those strengths that we can't help but do. And so recognizing that that might be the very thing that sets you apart, it may be your superpower. And so how you think about it, how you approach it, might be the key to unlocking where you can develop the most, where you can have the most impact, and where you can fulfill what your purpose might be in this world. So differences are advantages. And then the last one, people need one another. People need one another. Strengths do not develop in a vacuum. We are all uniquely gifted, but it is with other people's support and encouragement that we can become the best of who we are. We need other people to help us appreciate our contributions and gain greater self-awareness. So now, one of the things that I tell my clients to do, especially when they're new in their development of their strengths, is to go find someone who knows them well, who loves them, and share their talents, share their report. And in the sharing and the talking it out and the processing, hopefully they'll gain some examples of how they use those talents. And that's helpful because sometimes our talents are so natural and so automatic that we don't notice them. We don't recognize them as something that needs to be said or shared or pointed out because we think, doesn't everybody do that? That's no big deal. And it's in the talking through with other people that we then recognize, oh, that's something that's unique. That's something that I do, and it gives me energy instead of taking it away. Wow. Okay. Now that I know that, because I've been talking and being supported and encouraged and recognized by others, I can now begin to intentionally develop this rather than only just doing it because that's who I am in my makeup. So that strength spotting that we talk about is another way that we develop and an important part of this strengths development journey.
I hope this episode inspired and equipped you to step boldly into your leadership journey. Together, let's build a community of empowered leaders lifting each other up. Until next time, remember to lead with your strengths, live with purpose, and always empower you. If you found value in the topic I discussed today, don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, and share this podcast with others who could benefit from the insights and encouragement that I share.